My husband and I did not always get along, and this was largely due to miscommunication in expressing, receiving, and acknowledging love to and from one another. Being unable to communicate properly and meaningfully created a lot of stress in our relationship, which resulted in us having a lot of misunderstandings and saying to each other way too often 4 painful words, "You don't love me." But that wasn't true. We had a lot of love for one another, but it just felt like every time we would go to express the love to the next person, the message would get lost in translation. It felt like we were constantly speaking gibberish to each other where expressing our love was concerned, until we found out about love languages. Hi, I'm Miranisa, a content creator from Ghana, and this is Miranisa's Mini Moments. In this video, we are going to be talking about love languages. We are going to define what love languages are, talk about the different love languages that exist, and then talk about how and why you should know yours and your partner's love language for a more fulfilling relationship. So if that's something that interests you, then you're in the right place. If it's your first time seeing my videos, kindly subscribe to this channel for more content like this. Let's get into the video. I like to define it as a person's translation of love. It refers to the different ways that different people like to express and receive love to and from their partners. Everyone has that one thing that when they experience, whether it's actions or words, tells them, "I love you." It's their love language. We first came across love languages after we were recommended to read The 5 Love Languages by Gary Chapman by a counselor. And in that book, Gary states that there are 5 different love languages. This is a theory that has been supported by many psychologists and philosophers. And the love languages that he defines are acts of service, words of affirmation, physical touch, gifts, and quality time. People who have acts of service as their love language feel the most loved when their partner does things for them, whether it's running an errand, completing a chore, or helping them through an activity. For them, whenever their partner makes an effort to help them or take away some of their responsibility, that is the biggest show of love. People who share this love language prefer to receive and express love verbally. They feel the most loved around partners who are able to express themselves to them through words, whether it's through praises, compliments, or encouragement. People who have this love language feel the most loved when their partner gives them something, whether it's a box of chocolate, a bouquet of flowers, or a stone that you found on the road that reminded you of them. For them, it's about receiving something from their partner. People who have their love language being quality time just like to spend time with their partner. For them, the biggest way to tell them "I love you" is by giving them your undivided attention. For a person whose love language is physical touch, they prefer to receive a lot of physical affection from their partner, whether it's through hugs, kisses, or hand-holding. Now we know the 5 love languages, and understanding these love languages are the first step that you can take towards expressing and receiving love to and from your partner more meaningfully. I'm sure that as I was explaining the different love languages, there was one or a few that had you saying, "Yes, that's my love language." People can sometimes have just one love language, and people can sometimes have 2. Think about it in terms of everyday language. There are some people that are bilingual, trilingual, there are some people that can speak multiple languages, and there are some people that can only speak one language. But then there's a theory that says no matter how bilingual or multilingual you are, there's one language that is your native, which will be your primary love language. So you can have someone that would prefer both receiving gifts and words of affirmation, but then receiving gifts would be their native language or their primary language. Or you can have someone that can speak all 5 languages or understands all 5 love languages, but then their native language might be physical touch or acts of service. So it's important for you to understand what the primary love language for you or your partner is, and then know what different other languages they can understand. Knowing you or your partner's love language starts from observing your reactions whenever you experience, whether it's actions, words, or services. So if you have a partner that gets super duper excited when you come home with a bouquet of flowers, but then when you send them a long message telling them how much you love them, the reaction is different. You likely have a partner whose love language is receiving gifts, or you have a partner that is type A clingy. They always want to be around you, they're always inviting you to watch a movie with them, they just want to cuddle. Then you know that your partner's love language is physical touch. But why is all of this important? Like I said before, my husband and I do not always get along. And it's because for a very long time, we spoke vastly different love languages. And we did not understand why whatever we were saying or doing was not translating to the next person. It was a very frustrating time for both of us. It resulted in so much stress and misunderstanding. My love language is words of affirmation. I express my love through words. So there were times when I would send him paragraphs of lyrics that I found online to tell him that I loved him. There were times when I wrote out notes, 100 reasons why I love you. There were times when I would send him long paragraphs and long love letters. But for him, words of affirmation is not on his love language. It's not a language he understands at all. His love language is acts of service. So whenever I would tell him, hey, I ironed your shirt for you, or give me your dish, let me wash your dishes for you, or I laid your bed for you, those were the things that made him feel loved. But I felt like they were everyday chores. And for me, it's not my love language at all. Like, if you want to do some chores, fine, but that's not my love language. And I didn't understand that these were the things that he wanted me to do, and he didn't also understand that I wanted him to be sending me paragraphs telling me that I am the moon, the stars, the cloud, and the constellations, stuff like that. And for a long time, I would say that he didn't love me because he wasn't sending me paragraphs and long love letters, and he would also feel like I didn't love him because I didn't think that doing chores was a way to express love. But then once we started to read about love languages, we came to an understanding. And the most beautiful thing about love languages is you don't necessarily have to only speak your partner's love language. You also need to understand when they are speaking to you. And a lot of the videos and information and resources around love languages preach speak your love language or speak your partner's love language. But it's also so that you can understand when your partner is telling you I love you. So for example, where I'm recording right now, a few days ago my husband walked in and bought a nice bright light bulb and then put it up here and says, I am doing this so that when you do your videos, it's clearer. So even though my love language is not doing chores, the fact that he did that, I know that he's trying to tell me he loves me very much. And even though he doesn't necessarily appreciate paragraphs and love letters, whenever I do send him a paragraph or love letter, he knows what I'm trying to tell him. At the same time, it's respectful to also speak your partner's love language. Understanding your partner's love language can build so much trust between you, because when you love someone and you feel like a person loves you back and you feel like you're willing to put in the effort to love you in the way that you deserve, you tend to trust them a lot more. It builds up trust in the relationship. It makes you feel a lot more comfortable around them. It improves your relationship with them, and it can deepen the love that you have for them. Knowing your partner's love language can also help you prioritize your words and actions to them, because there are a lot of times when people feel burnt out because they have been doing something over and over again for their partner. They've been trying to tell them you love them. For example, if you have a partner whose love language is physical touch, and every single time you're coming home with gifts, you bought an iPhone today, you bought AirPods yesterday, you bought your love last week, and then you feel like they're not appreciating it. But the truth is, it doesn't translate as big to them as you expect it to. So when you know what will translate big to them, it's more rewarding. You can prioritize your efforts if you know that their love language is physical touch. Instead of spending money buying iPhones and all these gifts that they will not appreciate in the way that you want them to. You can spend a day with them at the movies, you can spend a day with them at the beach, and then you can prioritize your efforts and be more intentional about your efforts to your partner. Understanding your partner's love languages will greatly reduce misunderstanding in your relationship. Imagine that you are here, then someone comes and starts speaking Chinese to you, and you don't understand Chinese, but the words they're saying sound similar to some English words that you know, and then you react based on the English words you think they know, but what you're saying means two different things, and then it creates chaos. That's how love languages can be. Sometimes your partner can be speaking to you, and because you haven't made an effort to understand their language, you misunderstand their intentions entirely. I honestly believe that the keys to a fulfilling relationship are intentional behavior and meaningful communication. Think about how you would feel if a stranger or a foreigner made an effort to learn your language just so that they could speak to you in a way that was meaningful to you. That's how your partner would feel, knowing that you made an effort to learn their love language and are willing to speak to them in that love language. Before we continue, ask yourself this: do I know my love language? Do I know my partner's love language? Have I been speaking to them meaningfully? How can I improve if I have not? That's the end of this video and our first video on love languages. In subsequent videos, we are going to be taking a detailed look at each of the different love languages and understanding the different ways to express love, speaking in that language. So if that's something that interests you, I suggest you subscribe and stick around so that you don't miss out on any of the action. If you're a returning subscriber, hey, I see you, I appreciate you, thank you so much for coming. Until next time, take care of yourself.